Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session of Dusts of the Past. So, because at least for us, it's been a second, this might be a little bit longer of a session intro than you would normally get, but we're going to do a little bit of a lengthier previously, starting back from when we were at or in Oralungra. So, after having a conversation with the Oracle of Oralungra, Sacha, you party, except for Caylona, left having now two missions. One, knowing the location of the city, as the Forbidden City or the Lost City, where they could attempt to find Soulmonger, the artifact that is causing the death curse. But on top of that, I guess you could say three pieces of information. They left with a new mission to take down Rosnasi, and somebody who, as they were informed, is responsible for the undead that have been plaguing Cholt, and will continue to do so until they eventually bring about the end of the world or are defeated. And also with the knowledge of where Caylona is. While Caylona was gone, she eventually, with the help of Connie, managed to break free from that icy prison and have a conversation with her father Lauricio before he died from being separated from the ring. Then Caylona took the ring, and the ring convinced her that it could help her gain vengeance on a figure who is going to remain largely shrouded in mystery for now. And after fully succumbing to the ring, the party managed to catch up, moving quite quickly. And while everybody else stayed back, Div and Caylona had a conversation, the end of which involved Caylona and with again the help of Connie being able to remove the ring and give it over to Div, who currently has it in their possession. And then after that, you explained to Azaka where exactly it was you were trying to go, and then embarked that way. While you were headed that way, you were intercepted with a small group of velociraptors, which, after defeating rather quickly, realized was just a precursor to the even larger group of small frog-like creatures known as Grung. Where we currently pick up, you are moving heavily as the Grung have retreated after Azaka took their leader and threw them down on the ground. You killed a couple of them, and they ran out of projectiles to throw. So you now have a chance to catch a breath. Zephyrus, you wander into the clearing. Zephyrus was about doing other things, but we will get to that later. So, Zephyrus, you come back in, and you see laid out in front of you there are just these like daggers lying in the mud, stabbed into trees, stabbed into Nephis, all over the place. And on top of that, you can see that there are full corpses of these frog-like creatures which have now fallen down in the mud. Everybody looks to be not great condition, and except for Azaka, who is fine. But um everybody else seems to have various forms of injury. And as you were watching, like Jasper is getting back up. I think it was um Marcius was who was unconscious, and so they like stand back up, looking even more corpse-like with wounds all over.
Oh, fine, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, gods. Did I didn't see what happened because I was stupidly doing other things. I don't know what, but
Yeah, you were occupied.
what did I miss? What? Ugh. Mercer's like stretches all of his bleeding limbs, trying to get feeling back into his finger. Quite a few lizards. And frogs. Quite a few of those too.
You just spawn or what?
Going to be honest with you, Zephyrus, I don't really remember, and I don't think that it matters at this point.
Yes. Is everyone all right? Can't leave.
Jasper's picking makeshift caltrops out of his leg after he landed. Ow, you did miss quite the show. Are you okay?
He has not a scratch on him. I'm fine.
Well, that's good. Everybody else, if anybody's like on the ground, Jasper goes to help them up.
Div is like 100% face down, just like he looks rough.
Poor guy.
Jasper walks over and squats down. Hey, you doing all right there, pal?
Div kind of hauls himself up, shakes his head a little bit. He looks very rough. He's very dented. It looks like his chest had caved in a little bit. But he kind of waves the creaky hand dismissively and says, "I'm fine. Is everyone else okay?"
Everybody else appears to be standing.
My
Nephis?
character does pay 0 hit points, so I'm just gonna pump that up to 1.
You're standing. That's what matters.
I think that's what matters. Once again, we owe Azaka a lot of thanks. A series of very articulate thank yous.
She nods to you, kind of looking off distractedly, and she says, I say we take 2 of the dinosaurs for meat and then move on. Fresh blood in the jungle attracts a lot of attention that we'd much rather avoid.
I think we've had enough attention.
That's surprising hearing you say.
Well, there is such thing as bad press.
I suppose you're right.
Starts like stripping down one of them dinosaur corpses then for the good parts.
All right, Marcius, go ahead and make me a survival check then. Let's see your skills.
Well, good.
I'll say that at some point, well, Marcius personally hasn't witnessed, Azaka has been feeding the party for the past little while off of this because you ran out of rations a bit ago. So, I'll give you advantage on it because it's not entirely unfamiliar
Okay.
process.
Very nice. Very cool. Thank you. I got a 15.
15. All right. Yeah, you managed to do a pretty decent job. And as you pick apart, you manage to grab the chunks that are important, and Azaka does the other one next to you. But she nods approvingly towards you, and she says, "That's not a bad job. You've been paying attention."
Thanks. I figured it might come in handy.
It will.
Bleeding everywhere.
Jasper kind of looks away as it's happening and just, I still won't know if I'll get used to that.
Oh, everything hurts. How far are we thinking we'll travel before we get out of unsafe range? having caused quite a little bit of ruckus.
We're not too far from the river. If we get into the river, then we should be able to go downstream and lose the trail in the blood.
Perfect. Well,
Also, everything in a 300-foot radius heard Jasper scream. So, oopsie.
It was just the groans. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, frogs
Yeah,
make the same sound
But
as
not
humans,
Zephyrus,
right?
apparently.
At this point already, there are like insects that are flitting around the corpses, and then you all hear like a distant roar, and you see there's like a couple of either birds or flying monkeys, you can't tell from this distance, that come out of the trees far down, and Azaka says, I think we should get moving now.
yeah, time to go. That seems like a time to go sort of situation.
Let's get out of here.
Let's leave.
As you were going, like Azaka just kind of like looks at you again, Nephis, and she just shakes her head and she says, once again, you have taken more wounds than I thought humanly possible.
Well, there were a couple times when I think I blacked out or something, but you know, thanks. I try my best, working up to be like you, you know. One day, maybe.
She just kind of smiles and first, now that you get a good look, it does seem like Nephis has taken like once again, there's like a slash wound at like at least every couple inches, stab wound or something, a cut of some sort all over.
Hmm.
We love her for it.
Yeah. Thanks for all the people who revived me every time I went down last time. I appreciate it.
We've got to stick together and can't do that with you 6 feet under.
Unless we were all 6 feet under, which I think we got pretty close a second ago, but I'm glad we didn't. Anyway. And then Nephis will like kind of like walk a little faster, clearly uncomfortable about the conversation that was had.
Jasper is very uncomfortable with the conversation now.
We can't stick together if we're dead, unless we're all dead. Anyway.
Anyway.
Amazing. So you continue to move forward through the jungle, pushing through these vines that are all around you. It doesn't take too long before you get to the edge of the river, which is this wide river. It looks fairly similar to the one that you came through originally, not quite as big. And it seems that you can even see there are a lot more wandering channels, and it's harder to tell where the main course of the river actually is, except that you can just see an opening in the trees beyond it, down farther downriver, leading back to the basin where you'd been before. And so you get your canoes out, which is always a relief whenever you hit the river or when you're in the basin, because you don't have to carry the canoes anymore. And so
Yeah.
you place them back in the water, and they take a lot of weight off of your packs too. So there's kind of like a collective sigh of relief when you actually manage to hit the water and then put them back in.
As we're traveling, Jasper pulls out his lute and starts playing his dad's bullywog song. But like as he starts getting through the descriptions, he has a weird puzzled look on his face, knowing that those probably aren't the same thing, but he just keeps on playing and singing to try and bring everyone's mood up a little bit.
That's a nice tune.
Thank you. My father wrote it. It's about one of his adventures. He encountered a funny little race of frog people, not too dissimilar from what we just experienced, but they were much more friendly.
Ah. Well, I mean, frogs, at least it's on theme.
I try to keep that.
Marcy's kind of grins. If I'm in your canoe, then I like lean forward and like pat you on the back or on the shoulder or something. Just, morale boostingly, if that is a word.
Yeah. Trying to bring up the morale.
Question: who's in whose canoe again? I'm sorry.
I don't think you decided yet. So who is in whose canoe? That's a great question.
Caylona's gonna follow Nephis because she needs to recover, so she's gotta bug somebody.
Please, I just died like 8 times. Leave me alone. Nephis will very pointedly like sit as far away on the boat as she can from Caylona.
Caylona's gonna pointedly not do anything just because she knows that the fear of her doing something is just enough, and it's kind of fun.
Caylona sitting ominously behind her.
Please,
You know, in the last 2 months, I have missed the girls fighting.
please free me from this torment. Please.
All right, so we've got Nephis and Caylona in one.
Jasper's probably gonna sit closer to Div on his boat.
Fair enough.
Dips
So
on
that
one.
puts Div and the Constellation and Jasper on one boat, and
On
then
the
Nephis, and Caylona. I miss
And Azaka would be on that boat as well,
And-
probably in front, because she steers. She shows you where to go.
right. As opposed to Div telling everybody where to go.
Which would go great.
He can do rivers sometimes when he's in them.
No,
So you once again move forward, and as you settle into your canoes, rain feathers get used to the feel until the rhythm just begins to come naturally, and the sound of paddles hitting the water over and over again. As you move forward, the buzzing of the insects, the sounds of animals coming in from all around you, just the cacophony that is any time spent in the jungle. The soft rain begins to fall, feeding your Fulton image, which is always a bit of a mixed thing, because on the one hand, if your water catchers get filled with the rain constantly, then you would have nothing to drink. But on the other, then if it didn't rain all the time, then you might be dry, which is a now foreign memory to you.
Yeah.
Worst.
everything is so wet all the time.
Mhm.
Am I helping row, or can I take a little nap? Like a little nappy nap for me.
For me.
Who else is with you?
Div, Jasper, and I think just Div and Jasper.
Is Zephyrus there with you too?
I'm sitting in Nephis and Caylona.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. So, Div and Jasper, if you want to pick up that slack, you could, but it would also just turn into kind of one of your own, because somebody has to sit in the back and steer.
Oh yeah,
The
I'm
canoe.
rowing. Don't worry about it. It was just like if I wasn't needed, then
Did we already lose our other friend?
no. Raynor is still around. Actually, shockingly, Raynor is still alive.
Cool.
Does have swimming speed? I think. Let me check.
I mean, not that they'd be really able to help steer, but
If they don't, they can just hang out in the boat that's got.
yeah, extra morale boost.
Yep.
Nothing brings up the morale like a weird reptile tree dog thing.
You mean my best friend besides Div?
Hey, that's
Here.
Div we're talking about.
My child
Hey.
Raynor?
We love Rainer. Okay, so
Yes.
continue forward. It's maybe a couple of hours. You spent the earlier time of the day getting to the actual river itself, and so taking advantage of the shade is nice. As even when you're on river, you tend to still be in shade as long as you stick close to the edge. But there's also always that risk that, as Mika tells you, is she'll just occasionally point out something to you where you see like a skull in a tree where, or some vine that has some sort of creature trapped in it. And she tells you that there are a lot of vines that will come to life in attempts to kill you on the edge of the river.
Cheerfully informs us, continues her trend of cheerfully informing us about the dangers of our surroundings, and honestly, Queen.
At this rate, I'm pretty sure that when we're walking, the dirt below our feet is going to try and kill us at some point.
Likely.
So while we're rowing, Caylona like obviously is bored because she's had a voice in her head for like 3 or 4 days ish that's been kind of talking back and forth with her. And it's just so quiet. And so she says it loud enough so that everyone can hear, but like asks it so it's kind of directed more at like the people in the boat with her. And she says, "So what was the oracle like?"
Um,
Uninspiring.
It's hard to put into words.
Think of a big snake.
Caylona turns and looks at you and is like metaphorically or
No, like very literally, just like a really, really big snake that tells you everything you've been terrified of for the past however long it's been, I don't know, is actually fine, and you can be terrified of something completely new now.
Right. I was trying to be a little more poetic about it, but what Marcia said, yes, that's basically the gist. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I'm very tired.
It's all right.
I do appreciate everything that she told us, of course. I'm sure she told you more than she told me because I wasn't there for very long, but all the same, a worthwhile trip. At least now we know where we're going.
so where are we?
Kind of leans closer to Div while he's saying this, just sort of like supportingly, I guess, just knocks his shoulder against Div, just like a, I'm here, I remember sort of motion.
Div will just kind of nod his head back.
I'm sorry you weren't there with us, Caylona.
Caylona kind of shrugs and she says, "I had experiences of my own. I'm sure the Oracle couldn't have told me something different than what I learned while I was gone. But anyway, where have we decided to be going? I know the direction, but I don't know much about the destination."
There's a city, a lost city. Air quotes. He does do the air quotes. There's apparently more leads there, including but not limited to a creature of immense power that is the source of all of these undead that have been so bothering everyone. And we're supposed to dispatch of it. We are also supposed to dispatch of one other thing for a hag. Does anyone remember this?
I do. I was trying to forget, but I unfortunately remember Nanny Poo Poo. Why did you have to remind me?
I'm just throwing it out there that if we do run into those lizards, or not lizards, terrafolk, they might be worth trying to kill. Not now, obviously. I'm more likely to die than do anything useful. Although, I guess I, in particular, have not had a good track record of dying effectively, but that's a story for another day.
We will worry about that when we get there.
Yeah.
Mostly because I would not like my bones to be made into soup if we don't help the hag.
I
Well,
don't think she would make us into soup.
How would you prefer to be? Well, I guess she probably doesn't eat metal. But if you were me, how would you prefer to be killed and eaten?
quickly.
This is a travel topic.
I'm just trying to make conversation.
No, I'm not bashing it. I'm sorry. That sounded sarcastic. No, I'm genuinely interested.
I think I would make a pretty good rack of ribs.
From me? Marcius looks down at his, like, actually, what is Marcius' strength score specifically?
How
Jack?
It's his corpse.
He's a corpse. No, actually, Jack. Never mind. He does, like, raise his hands, look at, he's bleeding everywhere. Like, yeah, I suppose I could be somewhat tender. What about Zephyrus?
I'd rather not think or talk about eating my friends.
Div kind of cocks his head a little bit, and Zephyrus takes a good long look. He's
What do
like,
you mean? You're blind.
he goes, a flank steak, perhaps.
Interesting.
Or a very nice fillet.
Cool. Never mind. This
That's
was.
pretty good.
I
I can
take.
imagine that.
I retract my further statement. I'm no longer wanting to talk about this. This sucks.
Oh, all right. I suppose that makes sense.
Zappa is which is where Div and Marcius are, just chimes in and she says, there are rumors of cannibals that live in the jungle in smaller tribes.
Rumors of what?
Cannibals.
Oh,
People who do as you state, eat those unfortunate enough to wander into their path.
That's great. That's just wonderful. Just another wonderful.
Well, depending on their species and the species of whom they are eating, it would not technically be cannibalism.
Just looks back at you and she says, does it matter? If it is technically cannibalism, if you're the one getting eaten, I don't think you care.
cannibals in Habara, Marcius says, and then looks rather surprised that he knew that.
Interesting.
I don't think I've ever been there or heard about it though, so that must have been someone else. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's very confusing up here.
That's fair.
What? How? Do we have a plan in any capacity for destroying this creature? If I recall correctly, out of character, this creature is specifically a big, like one of them snake things. It's a person who's also a snake. Am I right about that? Because we were definitely told.
Yes, they are Yanti.
A Yanti, thank you. I wrote that down even somewhere.
That's just like a snake person, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a normal snake person. It's just a necromancer but snake.
Thank you, Casper.
Thank you, Casper.
These notes make incredible amounts of
Oh,
sense.
what is chewing gum?
No, what it means. Great. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Does anyone know anything about Yanti back in Carré?
Does anyone know anything about Yanti? That's
I
a good
can make
question.
an inference. They live here, and Jasper kind of just gestures around, so they're probably not friendly.
Have I encountered? I don't think I would have, but just I don't know. Cinder may have had weird connections. Cinder's funky.
Cinder is very weird.
I love Cinder. I miss her.
True. If anybody was gonna have a janky connection, it would be her. Go ahead.
Or-
Let's see. If you are proficient in history on Zephyrus, you can make a rule about that. If you are not proficient, then that's going to be outside of your skill set, outside of your knowledge.
I'm double proficient in history.
Has she met one?
I'm a history expert.
Nerd.
Jasper, I would say that you would have had a chance of hearing rumors, so you can also do that.
God, a 7.
Amazing.
2 plus 5.
7 total. Okay, yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, just because I have expertise does not mean I have a good bonus on that.
Can I speed this one up a bit and ask Azaka? Like I'm talking specifically.
Azaka shrugs and she says, I have heard rumors of those whose appearance looks partially serpentine. Who I think are the race referred to as the Anti. However, they were always rumored to dwell deep within the jungle depths, which is exactly where we are going. So I suppose that makes sense. But I do not know much about them. Anything that I have heard is only to describe them as hateful creatures bent on destroying the world, which is hardly unique to them in these jungles, but that is all I can offer.
At least we won't have to feel morally conflicted. Great.
Always a bright side.
If you are powerful enough to create an affliction by which to haunt an entire continent, you are probably a creature of some significant power. I'm not certain fighting directly could necessarily be our singular and only plan. Perhaps there's something more something less exhausting that we could concoct. And he sort of glances at Jasper.
I can try talking.
You have
But-
any experience charming snakes?
I've never attempted to charm a snake before. I've charmed crowds, but it's hard to tell who was in the crowd with all the lights.
Fair. Well, I mean, I suppose we will know more when we get to the city, but I definitely think that we need to know more about this individual before we try anything, either talking or fighting.
First, we must find the city.
This
We
is
gave
true.
you that it was from the Valley of Lost Honor to the Peaks of Flame, which is, well, 50 or so miles across of distance. But that's in thick jungle.
What I would give for a nice shower. No more thick jungle.
Marcus hides his grin. Do you, what are you being greedy enough for soap?
Just a shower. Not like rain. Not like rain though. Rain doesn't count.
Like a proper shower.
Proper shower. For a haircut would be nice.
I can do that for you.
What?
A knife. How do you usually cut your hair? Scissors. Those are for weaving and sewing.
I guess, but also you can use them to cut thin threads. Is hair not but a thin thread?
I suppose that does make sense. I've definitely seen generals doing it. I just suppose I never really thought about that. Does anyone have any scissors?
Nope.
I have a knife.
Oh wait.
Oh, no.
No, you do your thing. I'll do mine.
I have my knife. He kind of like flicks his arm and like rolls the dagger over.
I might be able to. Mercy sort of looks thoughtful for a second. He says, I've never done this before, but apparently I can just do this. And then I'm gonna see if I can manifest some weaver's tools.
Oh,
I can just do
you can
that.
just do that.
Yep.
I do like how this conversation is taking place between two boats.
That's like shouting over.
Hey, you got scissors back there? No, I don't think so. Wait, hold on. Let me try something.
Actively stops rowing, so you two have to like dig into the water. I don't know which one of you is steering, but it would presumably be Jasper because Div is blind, and I don't think you'd be like, yeah, blind man, you should steer
Yeah,
the boat.
either Jasper or Marcius is steering.
Probably Jasper, since apparently Marcius is preoccupied.
If I'm busy, I'm not gonna manifest scissors. I can do this later, but
Azaka kind of looks up at the sky and she says, this is as good a time of any to find a spot to stop for the night.
Perfect.
We're getting
Preferably
close
without
to the basin.
raptors or angry large frogs.
Right.
This time I'm staying put so I can keep an eye on all of you. Trouble.
Don't worry, Zephyrus, I'll give you a hand with that one.
So funny. Oh wow, yeah. Wow.
Marcius looks like he's trying very hard to think of a leg pun.
Marcius, you're trying really hard, but it doesn't look like you've got a leg to stand on.
If I was in the same boat, I'd high five. Like reaches out across the water, but fails.
Jasper air high fives you.
Yeah.
It's like right by by Nephis, who's like, this whole conversation has been happening over Nephis and Azaka.
Nephis and Caylona just been like shooting daggers at each other, just staring at each other, staring daggers the whole time.
We've been having a staring contest, and no one has cracked yet.
No. They've been having a full-out Western duel with daggers the whole time. Just 3, 2, 1, drop.
I love that. They would.
Really quick, before we're like, because I know we're like pulling over, right? Are we still in the water? We're still in the water. Okay. So like as they're starting to pull over, Caylona like dips her hand in the water and
Ooh.
pulls it out and like starts flicking it at Nephis when she's not looking. Very pointedly avoiding like Zephyrus, but like very
Sit in the
much.
middle.
Yeah.
You are such a child.
Someone needs to have fun.
Yeah, we are back in the other boat. The rest of us are having a grand old time. Well, Marcius is on death's door. Jasper's half dead. Div is basically completely destroyed.
I have 5 hit
Party
points.
boat, party boat, party boat.
Pretty low.
Yeah, and we've got our little
Are they using Div for mood lighting as the sun goes down?
every single night.
He's our nightlight.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we keep getting attacked in the middle of the night. We should have a beacon.
I put a warforged full of lava in the jungle.
So as you slide over to the shore, you really just climb through the muck for a few feet before you finally pull your canoes outside of the river and then flip them over so that they aren't full of water when you wake up. But you manage to track down, and Zaka does her normal thing where she runs around for a little bit trying to find a spot that doesn't immediately have something that's going to kill you. And
Of her.
she settles after like half an hour or so, just as about as it's just started to get dark. And you put down for the night. Anybody have anything?
Sleepy. No, I'm so tired, bro.
Just a general question to everybody. When we get to where we're going, what are we doing there? If you need somebody to talk, I can talk, but I need to know what about.
Well, we're getting there, and then we're scouting. Almost certainly we need more information than we have right now.
Definitely. Great idea. I can handle that.
I will do my best to commune with the locals when we arrive.
I think that they'll all probably be dead. Not to be a downer, but that is going to be my guess. Is they're all undead.
Great.
Well, either way, we're eventually going to kill a heretic.
Caylona kind of realizes what Marcius just said about how they're all undead. And something like kind of clicks all of a sudden. Like she had heard everyone mention the whole like everyone's undead, but it had kind of like washed over her head. And she's like, wait, so this guy we're talking to, he's a necromancer?
I can't definitely confirm that, but the signs are pointing to yes.
And obviously he's successful if he's done it with hundreds of people.
Well, he is responsible for the entire blight that's been causing problems for this whole continent, so also yes.
Yeah, but none of those people seem coherent at all. And she seemed kind of frustrated when she said that, but like kind of just leaves it at that. And then she just continues and she says, I just don't understand why someone would resurrect so many people if they're more animals than humans.
Clearly, you've never been to Carré.
Practice, probably. You're never gonna get it right the first time.
Zaka's kind of like, she comes back after having found another collection of edible things for you to eat, and she says, what did you say the name was of this person who you were sent to kill?
Jason you remember? You said it earlier.
Did I say it earlier?
Is that what Tringa is? No. We were told, and I'm not remembering it currently. I'm gonna write it down when you say it again.
His name was Raz Nasi.
Rasmussen. So not very much not Tringa at all. Okay. Marcius says so. He says the Oracle called him Rasmussen. Does that mean anything to you?
He frowns and nods. There used to be several civilizations in Chulk that sat a long time ago. One of them was the kingdom of the Amons, as we are going to that city. Another was the people of Mesro, I believe, place is called. A place that is also reduced to ruins, but the city itself was ruins before people inhabited it. Leftover ruins from giants that used to inhabit this land. Then humans took over. I don't know much about Krasnasi, as these are rumors from events that happened over a century ago. It was assumed that he was defeated, but if the Oracle said he was not, then, well, she is correct. But he raised an army of undead and engaged in a war against the people of Mesro. They disappeared, if I recall correctly. Vanished or something along those lines. It's a mystery as to what happened to them. Nobody's been able to figure it out. But it was a result of whatever maybe a reaction to Raznasi's assault against them. But that act caused him to supposedly be defeated and the armies to break apart, which remnants of his armies are the remnants of the undead, which we have encountered before.
Lovely. He doesn't. No, that would have been thousands of years ago, presumably.
More like sometime within the past century or two. I don't know the exact date, but it's not my expertise.
You haven't happened to hear of the Emerald Claw in regards to any of this, have you?
The Emerald. What now?
The Emerald Claw. It's a extremist group that I'm vaguely familiar with. It just rang some similar bells, I suppose. The Queen of Death.
She shakes her head and she says, "Sorry, I have not heard of such a."
Well, let's hope these incidents are divorced from each other.
Indeed. And I think with that, it is the night. Live.
Hi.
As you are watching the trees in your semi-activated state, your thoughts moving slowly, your vision, well, your aura of vision, I should say, your sense of the world seems to shift a little bit back to the clearing similar to the one that you were in when you fought Rung. And as you go through, it seems that a detailed version of what you experienced unfolds in front of you. And it's going as it was until the knives start coming from the trees. The velociraptors are defeated as they normally were. And then as the rungs come, instead of ineffectively fighting two or three at once, you're seen to be imbued with power. You're attacking efficiently, you're attacking quickly. Every time there's a burst of energy that comes off of your mace, knocking them to the side, sending them flying to the ground. You clean through as they're trying to attack. You see like another knife gets thrown at Nephis. You were there, you were in the way, deflecting the blow. Same with Marcia's. You sprint over, you're smoothly, incredibly efficient. Then as the one in the trees begins to cast magic, you turn towards them and you mumble something. And then their body freeze and it falls to the ground and shatters. In a matter of moments, what was a brutal fight for your party is finished with barely a scratch on anyone.
Not gonna work, Ring. You're no good, Ring. Leave him alone.
Div stands in the clearing. His core just pounding. It feels good to have done his job for once. Again, to be useful. He hasn't been useful in a very, very long time.
That's false.
Incorrect.
I love you.
And you seem to just feel a shifting from next to you. No words, just a shift of energy from your side.
He will tilt his head down towards it.
It doesn't seem to respond any further. Just a moving your head.
You will take a very slow, deep breath. And when he lets it out, steam escapes from between his metal teeth. And he will grip his medallion and look up towards a sky he hasn't seen in a very, very long time. He just kind of stands there and thinks for a while. Just kind of watching his vision outline the bodies that litter the clearing. He waits for them to become something else.
As you
Bodies that he-
shift. Oh no, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, bodies that he would recognize.
As you shift your attention towards your holy symbol and towards Boldry in specific, the overlaid vision fades out. You almost feel heat that you didn't realize was missing there come back into you as your vision becomes clear again, and you are, instead of sensing the bodies of Brung, you are sensing the unconscious but breathing bodies of your companions.
He
Those little
relaxes a bit.
insects.
He relaxes at that, listening, just memorizing their breathing, their heartbeats, the soft vibrations that he feels that outlines their forms. Everyone's alive, and that's all that matters right now.
That is correct. Kind of thought that one.
The next morning,
Do we get a long rest?
you do get a long rest.
Yay.
The
Marcius, put your blood back.
Well, it's back.
Put
He
it back.
doesn't have any blood physically to begin with, but at least it's not coming out anymore, so that's good.
The doctor said all the bleeding was internal.
That's where the blood's supposed to be.
So as you wake up the next morning, you see something that you notice coming right in front of you is that there's this long, slimy trail about 2 feet wide in front and along the river of where it had gone, just leaving like this thick mucus on through the mud. Kind of combines with it.
What the hell is that?
Giant snail?
What is what?
There's weird goop.
Azaka looks towards you and she says, I suppose we have not encountered one of these so far. If you wish to see it, it's not dangerous as long as you stay out of its way and act in an unthreatening manner.
I saw one.
What is it? Zephyrus, you saw one?
Snail person. Straight snail person.
This is not a trail of a person. It is a what would you what did I hear those people from Warfare call it in your language? A flail as a flails on it.
That was completely incomprehensible to that. I'm so sorry.
She says it's a snail that has flails on it. They call it a flail snail in your language, I think.
A snail? Marcius looks delighted.
But it has a very colorful shell.
Was it the thing that I saw? Or
I do think so.
do you remember that? It was quite a long time ago.
It was, but it is not. But you haven't seen this thing yet, so I'll describe it when you get there. You'll notice some differences.
Oh, okay. So Okay, never mind. Disregard my last statement.
I would, in fact, like to see the snail.
All right, so Azaka kind of takes you to the side, and you follow along this trail, and then you see this creature plucking at the base of a tree, and the thing stands with its shell. It's like a snail, and as it's plucking, it stands probably at least 6 or 8 feet tall with the shell, and with the like obviously a giant snail is notable, but what's most notable about it is that is its shell, which is this has this green sheen on it that reflects the light as it comes down, seeming to shift colors in this iridescent continual movement. It's almost entrancing watching this massive creature's shell. It has this goldish tint to its slimy skin, and you can see that as it reaches out from its face are these extended things that seem almost like well, they're shaped like clubs, and it just like pushes aside some and reaches down to grab something with another one of these before turning and sliding slowly off in a different direction.
That is one of the most beautiful and most horrifying things I have ever seen.
That is odd. Can it go fast?
I don't want to find out.
I have never known one to go fast. When they are threatened,
Venomous?
they're not exactly venomous, but well, as can hurt. They also can retreat into that shell and make it flash brilliantly in a way that can do strange things to your sight.
Ah, what an interesting defense mechanism.
Yes, that's the word for it.
What? You've never felt the desire to combine all of your self into a protected area and then present a different, perhaps more colorful or interesting outer shell to distract from dangers of predators? Is that not a universal experience? Jasper, you know what I'm talking about.
I was just like flipping
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to avoid this thing.
All right. I thought that just, the hair, the general sense of dramatics. You've got secrets under there, I know it. Anyway.
It's beautiful, but I don't want to mess with something that's got flails for a face.
afraid of that flail.
Marcius is just kind of repeating that to himself. He probably watches the thing either until it is out of sight or until like we all decide to go elsewhere. And then nods thankfully to Azaka for giving them a little flora and fauna lesson.
Zephyrus is like looking in the reflection of the river. He has like a little piece of vine or something. Trying to like tie his hair up. But it's not working.
Does that really annoy you?
Yes.
Because I can't help if you want.
I would just say no, I suppose.
Do we all have, I don't know, an
Unless
hour?
we're busy.
I guess I can sit behind you on the boat and do it.
There you go.
Hair in your boat.
So funny. So I do want to talk to Caylona, but I can do that at the end of the day.
You can sit in the boat. You can sit in the boat.
I want to talk to Caylona without you people overhearing. About the peanut gallery having thoughts about the things that I want to ask Caylona. Cool, but yeah, I'll
Rude.
survive besides you on the boat. Are we doing anything else on land, or are we just getting back on the boat and boats and getting going forth?
So we're like all awake and we're all just chilling, getting ready to get back in the boats. And where's Azaka at? Is she like in the middle of everyone, kind of out doing her thing?
Yeah, she's basically just like finishing the boats, checking them over. There's been a couple of repairs. I mean, these things have been dragged through the woods for like a lot. You've been using these canoes almost daily, at least moving the canoes almost daily for months. And so she just kind of does some basic check over and make sure that there's enough rain, that your rain catchers are set up properly and everything kind of gets everything lashed in the proper way. You all can do that a lot yourselves now as you've seen her do it. Like when you first came into the jungle, Azaka essentially did pretty much everything for you. And now you're capable, at least most of you are, of doing at least the basic things: how to set your canoes up properly, how to make sure that everything's looking right, how to set up your own camp. You don't have to have Azaka point exactly which spot to go to.
Sick. Okay. So Kaylona's gonna run over there, or not run over there, like casually walk over there so she doesn't draw attention, hopefully. But either way, she's gonna be kind of cryptic and talking to Azaka. And like from the directions that she remembers, which I can't remember them, but Scott, you know what I'm talking about. She's gonna say, so with the city that we're headed to, once we get there, about how far away exactly is it from, I don't know if it's like where we came from that I'm looking for. I can't remember the name.
I don't think the ring told you the name. It
Okay.
might have, but I don't remember.
Eastward, I think.
It was west.
West. How far is it back down the river west from this city?
He shrugs and says, once we pass the basin, we will start moving through the bay. The basin is quite large. Then, if you were to try to go west, well, there's not much out that way. There's the river takes you just straight to, I guess there's the bay, would be it. Jaka Bay. But after you pass the bay, well, you're just in the ocean, but the bay is only in a small portion that the river path takes you to. Everything else on either side, if you were to try to go west, is blocked off by the mountains, either the Mistcliff or the Cobalt Mountains.
Okay. Does the bay have a name?
Jaka Bay.
Okay. Just curious. I thought I heard something. I don't know. Guess I didn't.
But from where we're going for the Peaks of Flame and Valley of Lost Honor, it would be quite far. Probably several weeks to journey back. It will take us several weeks to journey where we're going from here, and the bay is even further out than where we're at right now.
Okay. Instead of like looking disappointed at that, she actually looks pretty relieved and just nods and says, okay, thank you. And walks away.
All right, so you all load up in the canoes and you push back off, moving through the water. Is it the same canoe setup as yesterday, or are you switching people around?
I'm assuming, yeah, because they want to have girl time.
He's being annoying, all right?
Yeah.
This was over Nephis' shoulder last time. Okay, so who is going to be then, or is it just Nephis, Caylona, and Azaka in the lead boat, and then everybody else in the other one? Or
Div can be in the lead boat.
all right, so then
Heck yeah, party boat in
Zephyrus,
the back.
Marcius
Party
and
boat.
Jasper are in the back, and then Div, Nephis, Caylona, and Azaka, you are in the more front one. And this
our
river is so
little-
wide.
And our little guy.
Yeah, the little guy is probably in the back with you guys because he fits in there better. But
Yeah.
at this point, it's like when you go, it's kind of like the boats are like semi next to each other, especially because you have to let Div's cloud permeate. Which, by the way, Div, there's a day left on that, but just so you know. And
You open his mouth, just check how long you have left for burning it.
as you continue forward, the river kind of widens up, so it's not quite as narrow. So you're able to actually be mostly next to each other as you move forward throughout the day. And then you take this main current as you head back in to Basin, which is a landscape that at this point you are somewhat familiar with, whereas the sound of insects immediately increases, the trees widen, and it turns into this swamp-like area that opens up in front of you. There are these swirls moving throughout this place, and the water itself, instead of having a brownish cast like a lot of the river does, has an almost bluish tint with these brown swirls mixed in, little bits of foam floating on top from who knows what. Reeds poking out of the water, along with various other pieces of foliage or things that are just floating at the top. As you pass through, you can see that it's unnerving as there tend to be splashes in a lot of places around when you're in the basin, as you're pretty much completely surrounded by water. But at least you can generally see as you move forward into this environment once again. That also means that the protection that the trees afforded from the sun is largely nullified in the basin, as there are a lot fewer of them, and the ones that are there are just like sticking up in the water and with vines dangling down, so their shade only lasts for a few seconds when you pass through it. As you continue about halfway through the day, go ahead and make me perception checks.
I'm really good at those.
Uh-oh. I'm not.
Never mind, I am actually really good at those. That's
Guys,
a natural 20 for a 25.
Guys, what do we add to our roll? I already forgot.
Perception.
It's a wisdom score.
Yeah, go to your little perception section and see what that is. It'll be like a next to your ability scores on your sheet.
Sick.
I got a 14.
18. What? We're both 8? Oh my gosh.
I got 18 though. So
Oh. It's a little bit better.
Plus 10. Okay. Jasper, what did you say?
14.
14. And Zephyrus and Marcius.
I got a 17.
Hold on, I'm trying to find my character sheet.
I got a natural 25.
Bro sees everything, even though he's
Whatever it
blind.
is, Div is perceiving it.
Oh, it ain't got no why. I got a 14.
14. Okay. So those of you who got above a 10, you are interrupted from your thoughts or whatever it was that you were doing, as this casual regular rhythm of paddles hitting the water. You see that there's a deeper spot. It's kind of in front of you where you were generally turning towards, as you're now trying to get to the end of the basin. So this is going the opposite direction of where you went the last time you were in the basin. You're also on the opposite side of it. So rising up behind you, you can see the cliffs where Mabala was, even though it's kind of a distance away. But you're this time, instead of going towards that direction, back towards where Nyanzaru is, you are floating away. Or when you're floating, you're actively canoeing away from that general area. And in front of you, in the distance, you see a large and something come up that's much larger than your fish that you've seen a couple of times, or an insect or bird or something like that, or even some of the smaller reptilian creatures. And then you see another one and another one. And Div, you're just hearing this, but those of you who can see it, I'll say, Caylona, you got really high, so you're able to pick out. From those of you who are under like 15, all you can see is there's just something that seems to be attacking something else. And you just see these like limbs come up for a little bit that just look big and sinewy, it's covered in scales. And then it goes back down. Ilona, what you notice is that it seems to be these creatures which are large with these big maws, and they seem to be fighting against each other over something in the middle of them, tearing pieces of it out. Some sort of dead creature that was also here, like tearing chunks off and trying to push each other away from the corpse of whatever this thing in between them is.
Weird. So they're like giant serpentine snaky things.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's scary. Can we like not swim away, paddle away from those? I'm gonna say something to everyone else and be like, I don't really like what that is. Is there any way we can go around that, Azaka?
Zaka will nod and she'll say, I think it is best we give them a wide berth to fight over whatever it is. Unlucky thing got stuck in between them.
Yep.
I would really super like to know what it is that's stuck in between them. Upon getting told like that there is something there, can I like take another gander or anything like that?
Sure, go ahead and make another perception check.
Awesome. You doing okay over there?
You have all heard the phrase curiosity killed the cat, right? Well, in this case, it's going to be all of us. Curiosity killed everybody.
Marcy specifically. I got a 21.
And so Marcius, looking at this, it seems like these two creatures are fighting over a limb that seems kind of strange to you to see in a swamp, as it seems tentacled. It looks like that of a large, almost octopus-like creature.
That thing has tentacles. Whatever it is that they've caught. No, it does. Odd. Very perceptive. What are you on about? You didn't get it.
Gross. Let's leave it.
Leave it alone. I vote we go around. Jasper and Div, you can out paddle Marcius.
I'm in your boat this time,
Oh,
Missy.
Div will be safe. Come on, let's go around.
Zephyrus, we're going around.
Right, all right.
You'll follow our boat if you don't want to get eaten alive by bugs.
I don't want to get eaten alive, and I don't want to get stuck in between whatever that mess is.
It's not so appealing.
All right, so you all slide generally around that particular exchange as far as you can. And it continues on for a little bit. You just see this like violent thrashing, throwing streams of water at 15, 20 feet in the air. The water settles, and you don't see anything. You just see like for a second, there's the back of one of them like touches the surface, and then it slides underneath below your sight.
That was weird. Very perceptive. Thank you.
Out of curiosity, let's just see. Marcius, could you roll me a check to see how well you cut Zephyrus's hair?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am proficient in weaver's tools and these tools and tinker's tools and woodcarver's
Just
tools. Can I
all
make
tools?
a tool check of any kind?
I will say go ahead and make me a weaver's tools check, because I don't think woodcutters is really going to relate too much to hair.
It might at this
And-
point.
And well, no, his hair's been constantly soaked. Nothing gets stuck in there but water. So go ahead and do that. I'll say Dex, yeah, add Dex and then proficiency.
Sleight of hand check for hair.
Oh, bro, I got a 19.
All right, so it's Zephyrus, you feel
AKA
like
Zephyrus lives to see another day.
Zephyrus, you can't say that you've ever had a corpse do your hair before, but I mean, after that haircut, might happen again. Because it's pretty good, exactly as you wanted it to be, and your head feels lightened, feel freed. You're not having to get rid of, like, brush the incredibly long hair out of your eyes all the time.
So did they have you on cosmetics duty in the army, or
Maybe I'm just good at things having retired.
that's fair? Thank
I do have a few skills, and I'm never sure at this point what skills are mine. So I'll pass your thanks along to whoever they are truly meant for. He kind of looks distracted when he says that. Not that I've really figured out how all this works, but yes, I appreciate it, and you're welcome.
feels really nice.
Marcius, try not to put yourself down. Whether those skills belonged to one of the others in there, you utilized it, so it's your skill too.
Appreciate
You're
it.
all you. I mean, it's
appreciate
strange, multiple you, but it's still you.
Jasper, you're also like dancing because you're the only one ripping at this point.
Also, that was really impressive. It looks good.
Thank you. Marcius is actually kind of starting to look a little like pleased at the praise. He's like, I didn't necessarily mean all that in a self-deprecating way. It's just that I am trying to figure out what's going on. I think it's probably better for everyone if I can do it sooner rather than later.
We're here for you. However long that takes.
Thanks.
Now we just have to go find this snake guy.
Yes, one snake at a time. Zephyrus, where did you get this hair dye? It's been sticking around quite well.
Some shop. First, I can't remember, honestly. He looks kind of awkward as he asks that question. It's a while ago.
Understandable.
Doesn't really. I believe it stays for quite a long time.
Marcius does like a survey of all the people who dye their hair in the group. Caylona's hair is a different color now, but that's
It's
just
naturally
because
white now. It's not dyed.
Hey, don't look at me. Mine's natural. I get the red from my father.
Really focusing on something for a second, but nothing happens. Oh.
Kaylona's gonna. I don't know how well she can whisper this to Div with other people in the boat and other people around. But she's gonna kind of say it in a hushed tone, so hopefully mostly only Div can understand what she's saying. And okay, she's just gonna ask, like, how are you doing?
Div starts a little bit. He's surprised anybody is talking to him, frankly. He was off in his own little world, just rowing away.
So
He says, I'm fine. How are you doing?
She just shrugs. Better. How is you know?
It is safe.
Mm. She just kind of nods, like low-key wishing that she could have this conversation with him, like telepathically, but knows. I think she's done that before once, and he's like asked her not to. And
That was Marcius. The Constellation asked you to not be in their head.
yeah, true. Okay, so then maybe she'll just whisper and she'll be like, can I ask you something in a little more of a private way?
Of course.
Okay, she's gonna do the telepathical leaky thingy.
Cool.
I forgot if there's anything specific she has to do for that, but I don't think there is.
No, it just takes an action if you want to mark Div as being able to respond to you.
Cool. I'll
Just
look
gotta
up.
look at him funny.
And this time when you do it, it's kind of like you sense, almost see. So assuming, well, I think we flavored it so that it works this way either way. Like sending Connie over to Div, and then Connie just sort of exists in Div's surface thought headspace, relaying messages to you.
Okay, that's cool. So she's gonna kind of talk to Div slash Connie, but she's gonna ask, has the ring been talking to you at all? I know when I held it, it spoke to me quite often.
I suppose it's tried to. I had a strange dream last night, but wasn't much to it.
Was it a persuasive dream of sorts? Like, I guess, I don't know. You don't have to answer, but for me, it was really preying on some of my, deepest fears and wants and needs. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. So you had someone to talk to about it so that it didn't, try to get you to put it on. Because honestly, you would be quite terrifying if you ever put that on.
He chuckles, and it's this very rusty, jingling sound.
So you hear that
says-
with no context whatsoever.
You just hear Div like shudder behind you in the boat. Div says, it promises impossible things. Do not worry.
Okay. Just let me know if it becomes too much of a worry. We'll figure something out. Of
I appreciate the concern.
course. And it's just gonna just snippety snip the connection thing.
All right. And you continue moving forward throughout the day, having to Div's general shroud of bug proofness is definitely helps, but it doesn't prevent you from still having to swat insects away and making drinks of water. You have to drink quite a bit of water to stay hydrated in Colt. So that's a pretty common thing, is just dunking it down your flasks and taking turns refilling it from the rain catchers, which you have one on each boat set up, until you eventually come back. You generally stick to the coast, as Azaka explains it to you. If there's something that will attack you in the deep water, it can't. And if there's something that will attack you on shore, you can either go out to the deep water, or you're already in enough water that it's avoidable. So this is generally the safest place to be until you pull it back over to shore, bring it back on, and then trek through the water for quite a bit of time. Several, like it's over 1,000 feet that you have to actually drag it back before you get onto ground that you would consider dry enough to be something you can sleep on. And then that is your day's journey.
I harass Caylona really fast before we do anything. Marcy's just sort of wanders over there, kind of spur of the moment, like he doesn't seem like dying. He's in like a huge hurry or anything, just curious. Okay. It's gone now. Anyway. And he kind of says, you have experience with necromancers then?
Caylona is extremely like off put by this question, and she like kind of flinches, as if she's been caught. But other than that, like, doesn't give away much and kind of recomposes herself and just says, well, Syndra had a tendency to lead me away from such things. I more looked into them and learned about them than actually spoke with one.
I don't mean to pry into anything, of course. I just and he like gestures at himself. I obviously have experience with necromancers, and I'm trying to find one specific one. If that explains anything, I don't know. I doubt that I ever will, but it just reminds me of something that used to make sense. And I wondered if you had any similar experiences. So I understand most people don't have positive experiences with necromancy. I'm a bit of a wild hair in that regard.
Caylona kind of is like slightly confused, and so
me too.
and so she kind of looks at Marcius and she's like, I wouldn't say I've had negative interactions with necromancers or negative impressions. I wouldn't say I've had wildly positive ones either. I'm pretty much in the middle about it, but like, if you don't mind me asking, obviously if you're not comfortable sharing, but what did someone necromance you?
Well, in my version of my life, yes. I think that those memories might be false in some way, but the oracle told me that at least the person who I remember bringing me back to life does exist. It's not normal for undead to return with intact souls, and I always wondered what had happened to end up with me as a bit of a cosmic fluke, I suppose, but things make a little more sense now, knowing that I'm not really dead. Not that it seems to make much difference. And he looks down at the body, which is definitely still a corpse. But yes, I was raised to be one of the undead soldiers in Karn during the war.
Caylona just kind of sits with that information and she kind of smiles, like not like smiling like extremely happy, just like kind of, I don't know, almost smirk like, but in a good way. And she just says, "Well, I'm really glad that you happened to be some sort of cosmic fluke, as you say, because I was beginning to lose hope that anyone could ever come back with their soul intact. I was thinking that even people who are alive struggle to keep their souls intact."
Marcius nods. He says, well, I'm not certain, as far as I know about the way my own situation is working these days, if I'm a prime example of either of those things. But I am happy to give you a bit of hope. He kind of sits down next to you, looking a bit thoughtful for a moment, and then ventures, is there someone you're looking to bring back?
Caylona shrugs and just says, I think all of us have thought about it in moments of grief. And I think I've just thought about it more recently than others. She kind of hesitates for a moment and then just says, I don't know if you met the man who kidnapped me at all. She kind of chuckles and she says he was my father, and in a sense he had been brought back to life, but as you said, his soul wasn't intact. So just pondering it, I guess.
And to escape, you had to. I see. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, that's not okay. She kind of starts to tear up a little bit, but like instantly swallows it, and you can kind of see like a wall come up behind her eyes, and she just says, it's part of what happens in life, right? And good things come and they always have to go. So
Would it help to tell me about him? The good things you remember.
she kind of softens and like has not there's been very few people in her life that she's ever told about her dad, just because there's only been one person that knew him, and she didn't even get to talk about him that much with that one person. And so she just kind of smiles and she says, well, he's the one that taught me how to knife throw, I guess. He picked me up as a little kid, kind of saved me from the streets. He was so kind, and he really nurtured me, really showed me how even when life deals you crappy cards, you can still get good things sometimes. She kind of chuckles to herself, and then like there's like tears going down her face, but she's speaking clearly, surprisingly. Almost like she's practiced doing that 1,000 times. And she just says, he used to have this thing that he would say. He would tell me that the universe was an entity that could reward us. And she kind of rolled her eyes and she's like, I never really believed him, but part of me wants to, just to honor his memory. Because if he's not here to tell everyone that the universe has something better in store for them, then someone needs to.
Marcius sort of listens closely. He looks very earnest as he's watching you, and he nods. He sounds like a very good teacher. I'm glad you had someone like that, Caylona. You did deserve, and you still do hope.
She nods and her eyes kind of like flick down towards like, so her hands are kind of resting on her knees. It kind of flicks down like towards her left knee and then flicks back up, and she says, yeah, sometimes hope is just really hard to find when you tend to lose a lot of the people that you care about.
I can understand that. I'm
Yeah,
glad you made it this far, though.
thanks. I'm glad that you're here too. I mean, I'm glad that everyone's here. I'm not very good at showing it. I'm not good at showing affection to others very well. I've never really had more than one person that I could call close friends or family at once.
Marcy smiles. He says, don't worry. I think everyone here is quite a bit more perceptive than we care to give them all credit for, and besides, we're all learning.
Mm-hmm. She kind of just nods and then she like laughs to herself and she's like, well, I mean, I guess if anyone knows anything about that, it would be you, right? With all due respect, I'm sure you've learned a lot.
Well, not half as much as I continue to feel confused about. I'm just trying to make sure I don't, or the parts of me that would cause chaos, destruction, death, and grief to you all don't get the chance to do that.
Yeah. I'm just glad there's good parts of you too.
Well, I'm flattered to hear you say that.
Yeah. It's comforting, and you're a good friend. I mean, not just to me, but you've been a great friend to all of us. I think there's been moments for everyone that you've been there for us, you and, everyone else.
Visibly tearing up. Marcy just like swipes at his eyes super quick, like on the down, very chill motion. Kind of grunts. He says, yes, I suppose so. You don't. What was it? So I had a line, and then you showered me with compliments, and now I don't know what to say. I'm sorry about your knives, by the way. The enchantment that was on them, I think, must have been one of ours. I don't have enough concentration to keep all of the arms and legs operating, and the knives as well. So just know it's no hard feelings, at least from me.
Yeah, no, I get it. You gotta, I mean, balance, right? You have to sacrifice, like the magic can't just come from nowhere. You have to put it somewhere and take it somewhere too.
This is my first couple of days of being magic, and honestly, it's very exhausting.
Yep.
I don't know how you guys manage it all the time.
Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just kind of ignore it, which is nice, honestly.
Are you not a particular all your cards on the table for magic fan, then I'm hearing? He kind of grins.
She kind of shakes her head and says, no, not in the slightest.
It all seems very complicated. And from what I've seen of this jungle and why we're here, it seems like it can cause quite a few issues, regardless of whatever beauty it manages to bring.
Yeah.
But think our friends wield it rather well. And he like glances over at Div and Jasper. And I guess Zephyrus is magic a little bit.
A little bit.
You can.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool to see everyone with their own talents. It's very interesting. Sometimes I like to believe that Azaka has some insane magic of her own hidden up her sleeve.
Oh, were you here for that? You know that Azaka is like a lycanthrope, correct?
Yeah, I do know that part.
Okay.
You're like, hold on.
Sorry, just we're all on the same page because that does count as some pretty cool magic in my opinion. But yeah, then he just sort of laughs, he nods. Everyone here is incredibly remarkable. It's like a proper squad. I missed that a bit. I'm glad to have found it for however long this lasts.
Hopefully it lasts longer than we think it will.
Well, I'll leave you to get some rest. Just let me know if I can do anything to help.
Thank you.
Necromancy-wise or in any other way. And he sort of pats you on the shoulder. You know, kind of like a middle-aged dad does, you know, where they like reach over and like pat your shoulder and then walk away. That's exactly what he does. Before moving over to find a space to just conk out.
Cute. Caylona just kind of lays down or whatever and goes to bed, but she's feeling a little bit lighter, not so, trapped in her own brain.
Helena, as you're going to bed, you feel, it seems like almost like a hand on your shoulder, and then a sense of, it takes you a second, but you identify as pride.
Oh, oh, that's so cute.
I cried.
As you are walking back, Arceus, you look up and you see an object that up far in the sky and just a gap in the trees, just a little flicker of light in it, one that you've been knowing being back in the basin, you probably be able to see as the heart of Ubtao rotates slowly far up in the sky.
Eesh. Marcius kind of loses a step, averts his eyes quickly. He tries to hold on to the lingering sensation of maybe being able to do this, maybe there being another way to get through this than the truth that he and the other four know. But it sort of fades slightly as he glances down in his hands, and just for a second, they turn skeletal and dark before he shakes that lingering presence away. He doesn't look up at the heart again.
All right. The next morning, you awake to the sounds that are familiar to you now of insects chirping, and especially this close to the basin, frogs croaking. And I'll go through your routine for you are once again back on the river. Or it's not a river, I guess. Right now you're in the basin, so you're kind of sliding along coast. And as you move along down the coast, you just fall into that rhythm once again. You can see pretty much standing all in front of you is just more of the basin, and then far off to the side as well. Now, at this point throughout the day, especially when you clear the trees, you are all able to see Argentine floating, while very far off in the distance, you can still just see the dot of stone floating far above the jungle canopy. You can see in front of you the ground slopes upwards off to the west a little bit, not as steeply as it did in Sacramento, but still going upwards with trees covering the hills as it moves upwards. And you're getting close to that, but Azaka tells you that you won't be going up, you'll be staying around that and then going into the deep jungle itself. And at this point, where you are in the river, she, as the day comes, she asks you, she says, well, tomorrow when we continue our journey will be a chance. Well, I suppose it will be tomorrow evening is when we have to decide. But for now, there are two directions we could go in. We can either start at the valley or we can start at the peaks. It should take the same amount of time to get to either place, but it is up to you which one we start at.
Peaks of flame. Peaks of flame. Peaks of flame.
Would a civilization of snake people be in the mountains, though?
I don't think it's of. Are we at snake people? I think they've taken it over.
Yeah,
Is the vibe.
as well.
Yeah, but would they settle in the mountains?
Well, it is in between
Like,
the
regardless
mountains
if
and the
that's
valley.
where the city was originally at or not, would a bunch of snake people settle in the mountains?
Snakes live in the mountains.
They got sun up there. I don't know. I don't think there's any reason for them not to have done that.
You did specify that she did say it was in between the valley and the mountains, yes?
Yes. I'm gonna say
Let's
yes.
say yes.
So my thought process is we would start with one and then make our way to the other and hopefully encounter some telling sign or some creature or something to lead us to the city in between.
Makes sense.
Likely more spears in our backs.
Which way is east?
S- I suppose from here, I mean, they're both largely south, but the Peaks of Flame would be more towards the east.
The which one?
Peaks of Flame.
We're going to my two desires to go east and to see the cool flint.
I'm not exactly excited for
Oh, wait.
something up and involving fire.
If
Last
they're
time that
called-
happened, we didn't do so well.
If they're called the Peaks of Flame, do they got volcanoes there?
She like looks at you and she says, they are, well, there are 3 active volcanoes that make up the Peaks of Flame.
Don't want to go that way. The valley sounds safer.
Volcanoes. I think I'm with
I should say the valley is called the Valley of Lost Honor. If that's its full title.
Is there a third option? The peaceful meadow of nothing bad ever happens?
If you go past the peaks, there's the land of ash and smoke.
Marcus gets kind of like a look on his face, TM. he says, I think the mountains. At least we should go there eventually.
And then we get stranded as they explode, and we all burn in a fiery lava death explosion.
Well, the point isn't to stay there. It's just to start on that side and start combing through the 50 miles or so of absolute death jungle that we have to find the remnants of a lost city. Should be fine. Should be fine.
None of what has happened up to this point has been fine. But out of the two options, I guess we go with the giant exploding rocks.
Nephis will nod, and in a very uncharacteristic contribution to the conversation, she will say, "It is better for a man to lose his life than his honor." And then nothing else. Nothing else.
Kaylona's
You
gonna
have-
give her this look that's like, girl, what? But also like kind of cool, but girl, why?
Honor can be won back, but I guess.
Once
You
lost,
have-
it's never the same.
You have
Same with
interesting
your life.
priorities, my friends.
Div, which way do you think we should go?
I am here to just make sure nobody dies.
I mean, you've been doing a really good job, and I'm proud of you for that. But
I've only died once.
You're fine. Oh,
yeah,
all your
you're
friends.
you have most of your original parts.
All right, well, to the mountains it is.
Through the giant exploding big rocks.
Will be as hot as it is down here, up there.
Hotter,
And
if you can believe it.
fantastic. Oh well. He's like,
Azaki nods and she says, "Very well then, we shall continue taking the river path to far as it will go before it fades out beyond our reach, and then we shall go more southwards and head through the peaks of flame." I should warn you, I suppose, before we leave the Aldani Basin, this particular stretch of back jungle is known for its known for having especially high concentrations of particularly dangerous undead.
Shocking. Woo!
But you are capable. I'm sure you will be fine.
I'm sticking close to Div.
That's probably the smart choice.
Is it? Is it? Are you guys? Do you guys know a like different track record than I do of what's happened around Div lately, or in general?
You deal radiant damage.
also good. It's the best.
Kaylona mentally decides, she's like, okay, if I could just find a way to somehow once again be in between Div and Nephis, she's like, that would be fantastic. So she's like contemplating ways on how to do that.
Safest place. Yeah.
For the tanks. I'm sandwich.
So Zaka nods to
As we continue paddling, like he keeps glancing up towards the mountains. Can we see them in the distance from here?
just barely. You can start to see over the treetops the cones of mountains and then columns of. It's really still quite far off in the distance, but you can see just hints of it as you're getting closer.
Yeah, and he just kind of keeps glancing up at the horizon, and then just sort of rubbing on his chest, and rowing. We're rowing. He's rowing. Everyone's
We
rowing.
are going.
Keep on rowing. All right.
Rowing.
What are you thinking of, spokesman?
Hmm?
What are you thinking about?
Me? How much I really don't want to die here. He kind of nudges you, somewhat awkwardly, but in an attempt to be friendly, and says, "Hey, I mean, you have a good track record so far against undead. I'm sure it'll be fine."
This is true. It's true. Won a medal for it, so that's.
You want a medal for it? I was talking about, and he like points at his eye.
Oh,
But this seems like a far more interesting story.
I forgot about that.
Do they give medals in A&M?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So were you good at being in war? Not to sound insulting, but you're like, ah. You what? Not? Which is what? Exactly. What do you want?
I must speak louder. Cannot hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
am I being quiet? I was 25, 26.
Now or when you were,
Is half elf age different, or is it just like how?
You'll live to about 180 to 200.
So what's like
Oh,
25?
I mean, you'll mature at the same rate, but
Oh, okay.
as a human would, yeah.
Yeah, you just done it. That's right.
so your brain would have
Yeah.
been fully formed at 24.
That's about when he became. I think so.
Well, my apologies for misjudging your experiences, I suppose.
It's all right. I have made a complete utter ass of myself. As I've been here, I'm not very practiced in combat anymore. It's more one-on-one now.
Ah. So, not to change the subject back, but you led? What was your... Do you outrank me? Should I have been calling you sir the whole time? Because if I have to start now, I'm going to be a little rankled about it, but I will do it.
Not anymore. Not anymore. It's not a thing now. It's not anything now. It's not. But maybe.
What was your title?
Was I captain of a squad?
You're the sergeant of a squad.
I was a sergeant.
Once again, I have to Google something.
Which would be the same rank as the person who brought you back, Marcius.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so technically, legally, you do outrank me. Marcius looks like stricken for a second, like his instincts kick in and he like straigens up for a minute before shaking himself. He says, well, I suppose I never asked. Some of you have fought, correct, Nephis?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Do
the
you
rank.
What do you outrank me? Because I do respect all of you, but and I want to communicate that as is proper.
No.
Now that the war has ended, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't deserve recognition for the sacrifices you made during it. So just I apologize if I've stepped out of line. A moment.
Yes.
Zephyrus Brimstone. Sergeant Brimstone. I'm never going to recover from this.
It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not. There's nothing. No, it's not. No.
All right. Well, whatever you say. Just thank you for your service, even though we were on opposite sides.
True. Thank you for yours.
I much prefer peace to anyone having won.
That's fair.
And then he like cranes over to like look at Nephis. Anything I should know, Nephis, or should I bugger off? I'm you. Now I'm speaking in British slang. You're like vibes. Or should I leave you alone? I apologize.
There's no need to worry about giving me any extra respect.
Oh, don't worry, I would not change my behavior in any significant manner. Such an experience. Wow, I have not been in the ranks in a very long time. This is really driving things home for me. Just shakes his head again. But he doesn't look so just like thoughtful anymore, like morose, I guess. The moroseness has left. Now he just looks thoughtful.
Nephis, you did tell me you fought. For who did you fight?
Breland, obviously.
Yes.
From where?
I couldn't hear what you said, sorry.
From which faction? Or town or
I've lived in the Breelish countryside my entire life. That's where my family is from. So
Midwestern Nephis writes for Midwestern
Right.
Nephis.
no.
Corn and putting peanut butter on pancakes. Pass it on.
Yep, that is all that she did. You're so right. No, but Nephis will she's kind of uncomfortable about being asked questions about her directly, but she will sort of smile and say, I'm sure you are both very good soldiers, and your fellow men were proud to fight alongside you.
They were good chaps.
Hope they're not all dead.
So with that comment, you kind of move on. Conversation kind of fades out, but as you reach towards the end, it's gotten kind of later in the day, and Zaka holds her hand up as the signal to start heading back to the shore to pull in.
Away we
For the night.
go.
As you are pulling your canoes through the reed, why don't you make the perception checks?
Let's have the blind guy make a perception check, he says.
Have the dumb guy make a perception check, he says.
I don't see anything.
Well, yeah, you're blind.
I mean, I don't see anything in a natural one kind of way, but yeah.
I got a
That's
got a-
6.
Dirty 20.
30-20? Okay.
17, if that wasn't heard.
What'd you get, Caylona? You're muted.
Oh, what? Which check? Remind me again. Sorry.
Perception.
Ah, okay. Oh, freak. It's 7.
Hey.
So all of you are, and to be fair, the chances of you beating me on this check were slim. So all of you are putting away your canoes, kind of unlashing your bedrolls, trying to wring out any water that you can while getting the last bit of water in your water skins for the night before setting the rain catchers out again. And then you're just like down performing your regular nightly tasks. And then you are all startled by the sound of a long, resonant code, code by about 12 more.
I what?
Say that.
You said something
Say that one more time.
Croak is the word that I used, and that is the one that happens. So you hear this long resonant croak, and then some more echoing, and then you look up, and that you see standing in front of you, kind of all surrounding your camp, is well, not even the camp yet, as you're just throwing it off the water, is a group of grungs, and they're all standing upright, staring directly at you, just croaking, which kind of turns into this cacophony as they all croak towards you. It seems like although they came up incredibly stealthily, not a single one of you had any idea that they were here until you saw them.
Yep.
They aren't making any moves to attack.
Hallelujah.
Thumbs.
Also,
Like,
17 asterisks yet.
Jasper just kind of stands up and gives kind of a salute wave. Hello.
You see one of them that's there's all the rest of the, so one of them is orange and the rest of them are green. And this orange one seems to have, he's got weaponry on him. There's like a bow across his back and then a short sword. It's just like basically just like a slightly long knife for his rungs. Steps up, but making no move towards the weapons. It's just still like standing, almost what you could describe as at attention with this long throat. And then turns towards you as you spoke, Jasper. Attempts to do the same gesture you did. It looks kind of funny with its like webbed fingers when it's still cloaking. It kind of does like this, almost like it's swatting at something, trying to imitate you. And then it another like long croak, and then says to you,
Was that supposed to be intelligible, or was it just croaking sounds?
"That's what you heard."
Okay, cool.
No, like your audio is
like
really
this is
fast.
Cameron asking because all I
Yep.
heard was a muffled. Okay.
Yep, that's what you heard.
Okay.
Does anybody have
You
a
heard
way
right.
Does anybody have a way to talk to these little fellas?
They're a little.
oh, are they little?
Yeah.
About 3 feet tall. Mhm.
They're just
Um,
little guys.
I was picturing them like 8 feet tall. I was a little scared, but now I am just like.
Oh yeah, the way we described them to Zephyrus was probably he interpreted them as these 8 feet tall, giant, menacing creatures.
Nope.
There
No.
was
Yeah,
these
you actually
frog
see them.
things, and they came out of the trees, and there were so many of them.
Marcus
Now-
raises his hand, and like glances over at Caylona. He says, "Caylona, how does your telepathy work? Could you communicate with them?" You're muted.
Can communicate without languages, by the way, Caylona. That's the thing you can do if you. You're unmuted and then you got remuted.
All right, I don't know. Okay, yeah, so I can't communicate without languages, or I can, because there was that one time when I was talking to that animal
You
thing.
can.
Oh,
You
I
do not
can't.
need languages. They
But can I
communicate
just like
telepathically.
telepathic connect?
You can.
Are these the same froggy thingies as before? I think I missed that part.
Some of them it's kind of hard to tell because as far as you look at these things, just like these green creatures with a couple little bits of leather that seem to be made out of dinosaurs strapped on, and then they have just these like you can't really tell the difference. Some of them have like slightly darker green spots, and all of them have these big black fancy eyes. And it croaks again, and it's as it gestures towards towards itself, and it says, and then points towards you, Jasper, and just lets like a
What's Jasper?
I'm gonna try something. I'm going to pull my lute out and kind of point it at the leader and strum a spell of sending. And it's just going to be, my apologies, sir. This is a better way for me to understand you. What do you want?
all right, and he can respond, right?
Yes.
All right, so in his mind, um, there was a way I was going to voice these frogs, and the way has just changed. So you go back in his mind, in your mind, and it says, "Listen, what do they want? You're my friend."
Wish I could understand a word.
I
you're saying.
really wish that was, yeah, understandable.
So the frog says, "In my head, is that out?" And it starts like gesturing around with his hand, pointing at nothing.
Still not.
I think he said he's like, who is that in my head? Who is that? Is he?
I don't want to blow another third level spell slot on this.
I could take it, but you would kind of have to tell me what he said.
I tried asking what they want. He just got defensive, saying something about "get out of my head." So, good luck with that.
Okay, we're gonna try something. So if Caylona like telepathically connects to the frog, is there a way while she's speaking to it to also convey a feeling of like, I mean, no harm?
You could try. What do you say?
Okay, that's Carré. She's just gonna say, "We don't speak your language. This is the only way we can speak to you."
Roll me a persuasion check.
Oh, freak. I'm terrified.
The one thing Jasper is super good at, can't do right now.
Oh, freak my life. Hold on. I feel like mine should be higher than that. But it's not. That's silly. Okay, my persuasion right now is 8.
Total.
Jasper can't roll lower than a 19 on persuasion.
So
Because he's also being telepathic? Or.
Well,
if he wants to spend another spell slot, he can.
yeah, and I can only send one message at a time. Because being a bard with spells is difficult. Like, oh, I might need this, and then you don't have it. You can't get rid of it until you level up. You can only do one at a time.
Yeah. Oh, wait, maybe I don't even know. I'm not, like, yeah, I think we're fine. It's still only 8. Or wait, no, it's 10. Just kidding, which isn't that much better, but.
So with the second assistant Jasper going forward, Jasper, I'll say you can go ahead and roll me a check, just kind of to convey it with your loot and stuff, just to try and convey the same vibes.
Yeah, that's a 19.
Okay. So he looks towards you again and he says, "Well, fine then. I suppose this will have to do."
He's
Oh,
talking to me or Jasper?
towards you. Well, I guess it goes back through you, and he still looks. So Frog could look visibly uncomfortable. It does. Uh, and it says, "I am Rog, champion of King. We are here to select your services as you have proven yourself mighty warriors."
Oh, Kaylona's gonna voice that to everyone else really quickly. Um, just those
Us?
exact words. And then
Mighty
she's gonna ask for
warriors.
advice on what to say back.
Ask for what purpose?
Kaylona's just gonna say, services of what sort?
Requesting your assistance to assist in accomplishing the ritual of the summon the Snang.
I don't know
Wish-
any of those words that you just said.
The frog like looks at you and is like, "To summon the goddess Nangnang is a high only earned by prowess in combat."
I'm so sorry, Scott. Your audio is it just keeps it's like a sine wave up and down. Can you repeat that one more time?
He says, "It is a great honor to member of the great ritual to accomplish
No.
his goals."
No.
I think my internet may be having a hard time maintaining.
It's the same thing he was doing last time.
So
All right, let me see.
I'm just gonna summarize. They want us to engage in a ritual to summon a goddess.
Kaylona's gonna ask what this ritual is whenever you figure out the audio.
Yeah. I say we just humor them for now.
Ask them whenever it becomes relevant, but if they will like help us, if they know these like this area of the jungle well and know about where the velocity is.
Yeah, 2 questions. A, what does summoning this goddess entail? And B, can they help us in return, theoretically?
What do you want to ask him? Caylona.
Also, Caylona going to give you a bardic inspiration, so you have a D8 to use, just to be safe.
Cool, thanks, bro. She's gonna say, well, yeah, she's gonna ask first what the ritual is.
Who's a ritual?
All I heard was it's a ritual.
That's all he said.
She's gonna ask if it entails sacrificing any sort of life.
He says, "It is, I'm not a would it entail necessarily."
So was that a no?
We didn't understand what you said.
I'm so sad because this is such a good voice for the frog too.
Let me see if it'll reset itself to again.
It's weird because it does so good with your voice when you're just talking. I don't know why it decides to glitch every time you become the frog.
Come frog
It hates frogs. It's got a secret frog hatred.
mood.
It says, "And I am not. I am unaware of what
So he doesn't know?
Can you ask him like what this? It's a goddess of what? Like what is this goddess? What does she like rule over or whatever?
Okay.
God of the swamp,
frog.
god of frogs in general. Like what does a frog god do?
Frog god.
She's just gonna ask, out of the highest respect, I just want to better understand your goddess, so that we understand how to best respect her. Could you tell me a little bit more about her?
This name is the greatest goddess of the gang. She is powerful. She is a goddess.
Okay, glad this man has an intel of like 7.
It's a ritual. And then I'm like, okay. What is a goddess? She's a goddess. Cool. Okay. So now that she's kind of understanding that they're gonna just end up, if they commit, blindly committing, she's gonna ask, since we are so unfamiliar with these customs, I would be inclined to ask if there's anything that you could do for us in return.
He consults, and then you hear just like various sounds of croaking that go into the group next to you. There's just like a lot of rapid fire croaking, and then he back and through his mind. And whenever he says anything in the mind, you also hear this like loud croaking noise coming to him. He doesn't grasp the concept that you can just do that in your head. And he looks and he says, "In return, this is an honor bestowed on you. The honor is in the ritual."
Okay, so I kind of heard you. From what I understand, the honor is being in the ritual, so like in return, we would just be honored. Like there's nothing that they're gonna do for us.
That's what it seems like.
This opportunity is a gift. We will be paid in experience.
Yeah, we'll be paid in exposure.
Exposure until they sacrifice one of us. Um, okay. She's gonna ask, like, how far. Okay. So she's gonna say, all right, another thing that we need to consider, because we currently are pursuing a specific person, where would we be going for this ritual?
Ooh, the great city of Dunglung.
Say that again.
Dunglung, the great city of the Grung.
Great city of the Croc.
I have so much
You guys
other
want to take a
stuff.
trip to Frog Town?
In terms of north, south, east, and west, like, what direction is it?
This man does not grasp the compass. This man has never seen a map.
He just points down the direction you've been headed, and he says, "The great city Dunglung is over."
Okay. She says, as thrilling as this sounds, how do we know that this isn't a trap, that we're not just gonna get led into something only to be sorely mistaken and to not be participating in this great ritual that you speak of to receive such great honor?
He turns back again and consults the other. sound of Croaks, and then he steps forward and he says, "You are warriors in combat." And it's kind of funny because when he steps towards you, he's like maybe up to your chest, and he says, "Perfectly safe. Yes."
This man has so much faith in us. So I don't know. Kaylona's kind of been explaining this to everyone as she goes, but she says to the froggy dude, she says, let me speak with my comrades for just a moment to get their insight as well, and then the floor is open for discussion, guys. What is going on?
Absolutely not.
We have so much else to deal with right now. If you can
Also
convince him,
thinking
we'll do
about-
it later. And if we just leave the jungle and never come back, would they ever be able to find us?
Could be fun.
We could go to Frogtown. Oh,
We
Okay,
do
but
not-
like, what if Frogtown kills us though? Like, hear me out. It could kill us, but also,
Exactly.
what if they gave us their poison darts, guys? Those could be handy.
No.
Varsus kind of glances up again in the direction that we're going towards the mountains. He says, "Do we have any idea where McFrogtown is? Like in
Caylona
space?"
laughs and says, he pointed down the river and said, it is Frogtown, and that is it.
Varsus rubs his face with his hands. Reminds me of someone I used to know. Is down the river the direction we're going?
It is.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty convenient.
We could just avoid the conflict until the conflict comes for us by just keeping on along this route, but I'm not necessarily sure if that's any faster in the long run, seeing as time is our biggest factor here.
Time is a pretty big factor.
And you said we're not getting anything in return if we do this, right?
The
Just
honor of summoning a goddess.
The
I mean,
honor
the
of
last goddess we interacted with was someone useful.
True. All he said was that she was very powerful. That was it. He said she's a goddess and she's powerful. So I don't even know like what she does. Like she could literally be 3 feet tall. No idea.
not powerful enough to summon herself, though.
I guess that's fair. She's gonna kind of turn to the
not how
froggy
gods
boys and
work.
ask them a couple more clarification questions. She's just gonna ask out loud as well so everyone else can hear her. Does this great, I don't know what he called it, like Grogton or something like that, have extensive libraries and history?
He seems visibly confused at that question.
He's like, no.
I'm familiar with such terms.
Yikes. Okay.
What
So-
is a book?
She's gonna say, okay, just out of curiosity, do you know if you have any neighbors that happen to be snakes? We're just kind of afraid of snakes.
My servants, it's here on the ground.
Wait, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Like serpents, the ones that try to be poisonous.
Yes, but they kind of walk
Venomous.
around like the rest of us on 2 feet.
Serpent. I've never heard of such a creature. Sounds like something worth fighting. Where is it?
Well, we would love to tell you. That's where we're on our way to right now, but we can show you after we do the ritual if you promise you'll come with us after the ritual.
Perhaps. I can make no such promises. I go where my king commands me. But if he wishes for me to go and fight this nymph that walks, then I will so gladly. Like this bellowing croak.
So basically, sorry, did you say that if the goddess tells him to, he'll do it?
King.
I'm king.
She just reciprocated that to the group. What do we think?
I would like to meet Frog King.
I guess if it's on the way.
Do we think it's worth it? I mean, we could have some backup troops. Possibly. It's only a possibility, though. This could end up like the zombie camp.
Backup wouldn't hurt.
Div and Nephis, any thoughts?
Well, no matter what I say, I will be outvoted. So,
I feel like we could vote and then
Div, you're still allowed an opinion, though. We work as a group. If one of us has something to say, we will discuss.
True. We could do it democracy style. Whoever says no can explain reasoning, and then we can compromise, come somewhere in the middle.
I do not think this is a situation where compromise is possible. We either do or we do not go.
I think if it's on the way anyway, I mean, we'll probably end up either walking by it or coming upon it eventually, so might as well.
True. Yeah. We're just gonna be in foreign land, foreign territory, likely somewhere none of us have ever been before.
Yeah, like we have been for the past
Yeah,
however long.
Several weeks is what it feels like.
What
Yeah.
does Azaka think? Can we ask Azaka?
We can ask Azaka towards you, and she says, I make it a habit to never trust the ground. You like trusting a bacteria, it's just gonna get you killed every time.
Have you ever had one come up to you and ask you to do a ritual before, though?
I've never let one live this long.
Okay.
To be fair, there are quite a lot of them.
We saw how we dealt with the few last time.
Yeah. Kaylona's also gonna outwardly express this with her mouth as well, but she's gonna ask the froggy leader dude. Just for those of the party in my group who does not wish to come, would you let us go in peace if we decided not to help?
He croaks and then he says, I refuse such an offer. Be offensive to the king who has sent me here. We could not let such an offense pass, even with mighty warriors.
So, basically, guys, either we do this or we have to fight them all again. We could stall, in theory, because they can't really understand what we say, so, like, but Unless we figure out a really fancy plan to get away from them, which it can't be right now.
We could just have Azaka kill them all while we were on our way.
That's true.
I don't know if Azaka could take on an entire city.
What little faith you have in Azaka, bro. I think she could.
Zaka kind of looks, and you can see she's like her feet have slowly slid into stance. She seems almost predatorial, like grabbing her blade as she's like staring down all these frogs. There's like one of them like right in front of her, and it's like trying to stand still, but you can see it's like, edged back maybe 3 feet out of the circle from where everyone else is.
However, if we offend their culture, they're gonna keep coming after us until all of them are dead or until we do what they say. So
Yeah.
Are they smart enough to hold that much of a grudge?
A grung grudge, if you will.
they're smart enough to
A
find us again.
grudge?
A grung grudge.
Trademark term.
Trademark term.
I don't really want to say anything else to him because I feel like unless we have more questions.
So, really, from what it sounds like, is we help them do this and they don't kill us. We don't help them do it and they all try to kill us.
Yes,
Or
those do
middle
seem to be the
option.
options.
Yeah. Or there's the middle option where we say yes and then attempt to slip out via loophole at any given point.
That I think
don't-
falls under the first option of we didn't do it, they try to kill us.
But it's a little easier than getting killed right now.
I don't.
Personally, I don't want to go. I think if we went, we should be very hyper vigilant and aware. And question them about everything that we can, even though they don't give very helpful answers.
It'd be so much easier if we could all commune.
Yeah.
Div, you're talented in magics. Do you know of anything that could help us with that? Do you know anything?
I'm sure there are spells of languages, but I unfortunately do not know any of them.
Next time we talk to them, or if we talk to them right now, I think I can probably connect a couple more people at the same time. But I don't know if I'd be able to connect all of us at once.
That would definitely be helpful. The more people we have with the ability to communicate, the better.
Yeah. In theory, though, it would probably be only to one frog at a time.
Still, that's better than nothing.
True. I mean, they sounded
Can-
pretty excited about these snake people. So,
I vote we go and just check it out, see what they want, and if it's something we can't achieve, we leave.
Lying. Me.
okay. So, I can ask them if we can go speak to their king directly.
It's probably the smartest choice, yes.
Okay. Any other objections? Any input on specific questions to ask before I ask this?
The only other idea I have is maybe only one of us has to go, but I doubt they'll accept that as an answer.
It's worth a shot.
Which one of us would we send?
I could go. I'm not edible, after all.
That is a fair point.
You
But
are
if they
still
are
just
underwater,
that complicates things.
we're not exactly clear about where Grung Town is.
Also, Div, the Constellation would not let you go on your own.
Not even a little.
Also, I don't think any of us should go on our own.
No.
Well, presumably, I will be with the Grungs, and they can stay alive out here just fine, and you all will have Isaka.
Until you're unable to complete what they ask, and you have an entire town against just you. We're not splitting up, is what I'm saying. Also, because when it comes to the death curse, we're gonna need you there. You probably know, I mean, a little more than the rest of us.
Even if I knew reviving spells, they wouldn't work. That is why we are here in the first place.
Yes, and we need you for the death curse. Main reason we're all here. Getting sidetracked is fun and all, but not to the point where we send one of us off to possible death. We'll all go to Grung Town together, figure out what they want, and then we'll move on to the next part. Same thing we've done throughout the rest of this jungle.
Div exhales some steam and frustration. He says, fine.
Okie dokie. She's gonna turn back to the little froggy leader dude and say, me and my group have discussed, and we feel that we would like to learn more about this ritual and communicate with your king if it is acceptable.
He lets out a big, long croak, which is then echoed by everybody else surrounding you, which is really loud this close up. And then you hear back in your mind, "Excellent! We make our way to Dunglung." And we will stop there for tonight.
Hopefully, we can get some supplies in return.
I am so tired.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yippee.